YouTube says it has had enough of vaccine misinformation on its site.
And false stories from phony sites to run circles around major news outlets.
Many people don't know the difference between something real and something created to deceive them.
Open your eyes.
If you've ever had this feeling that something was terribly wrong with the world that we live in, but you couldn't figure out just what it was, then you've come to the right place. Secret societies, mystery religions, and the Illuminati have been controlling our reality since the beginning of time. But not anymore, because there is an awakening happening, and you are about to become a part of it. Wake up, because this is a call for an uprising.
This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. If you pay attention to patterns, your brain will start awakening to what's actually going on around you. Everybody's so distracted with so much nonsense, so much noise, that they don't focus in on the things that are really going on around them. And if you watch patterns and you watch repetition, you'll start to see that they're showing you something, that they're revealing themselves to you. And even something as simple as this. How's this for a pattern? The Philadelphia portal is now opening. You remember the portal I talked about recently that appeared in New York City? This is conditioning. As insane as that sounds, you will get lulled to sleep into what is coming next, and they will convince you that it is something totally different from what it really is. But if you're paying attention, all of this stuff is spiritual. You may have noticed patterns with portals, which I will reveal to you again. And if you've seen it already, make sure you watch all the way to the end about patterns with portals, because recently they are showing you portals everywhere, as I will show you. But the portal was just in New York City, and now this portal, which of course is just a camera to another place, another world, right? Another country, but they're preparing you for this. You ever notice with the multiverse, how they're preparing you by showing you these movie characters in all the comic movies, jumping in and out of universes, time traveling, dimension hopping, these things that you think are fictional. All it's going to take for them to do is tell you that it's normal and it's not what you think it is. And these people will be lulled to sleep into accepting it and going along with it. So did you ever think you'd see a day where on the news you'd see this? This is on the news. We're used to tune in the 90s, and not that the news wasn't fully controlled then, but of course it was. Of course, Operation Mockingbird was long underway. It's always been fully controlled. But did you ever think you would actually get to a point where on the news that people would be so dumbed down and so lulled to sleep that there would be a massive portal behind the news anchors and there'd be the words, "Portal opens today"? This is on NBC News in Philadelphia. And seeing the portal going from New York, going to Philadelphia, soon to go to other cities, reminds me of what they did a few years ago, if you don't remember, when they rolled out the Arch of Baal, the arch from the Temple of Baal, which they put where it really belongs, right in front of the White House in Washington, D.C. And then, of course, they brought it where else? It was in London. It was in New York City. The Arch of Baal was popping up all over back in 2016, right around the time that Donald Trump was put in office. And now, in the year 2024, while Donald Trump is supposedly running for office again, we're seeing portals popping up all around us. And the Bible in Hosea chapter 4, verse 6, "My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge because thou hast rejected knowledge." Okay, let me make it clear if you don't understand. Does this thing on the screen look anything at least a little bit similar to these portals that they're showing you that are supposedly art in New York City and Philadelphia? This right here is called CERN. If you're not familiar with CERN, I'll get into it in more detail later in the video. But this is what we call CERN in the Hadron Collider at CERN. Now, if you pay attention to what you're seeing, you would say, well, that looks a lot like these weird portals that are popping up. Well, what is the correlation? What are they doing with that looking portal thingy that they have over at CERN? Well, they're telling you that they're trying to open up a black hole. They're telling you that they're conjuring up energy. Does it sound like magic? Does it sound like witchcraft? In order to study the universe. That's what they're telling you, of course, so that you don't realize that this is a spiritual war. and that you actually think that science has nothing to do with magic. And with what they're actually trying to do isn't anything that's a crime against humanity or bringing over what's on the other side, that it's all just science stuff that you don't get. Go back to playing Pokemon Go on your phone and stop listening to conspiracy theories, right? But we all need to take a look at the signs of the times. Matthew chapter 16, verses 2 through 3. What does Jesus tell the Pharisees? You know how to interpret the weather signs in the sky, but you don't know how to interpret the signs of the times. In Revelation chapter 16, verse 15, blessed is he who watches and keeps his garments, lest he walk naked and they see his shame. Pay attention to the events that are going on in the world. Do not partake in them, but pay attention to the signs and the times. This is what's airing on local news in Philadelphia. And the sheeple show up. They have zero idea, because let's be real, the majority of people living in this world don't have the slightest clue about anything that's actually going on.
Starting today, you'll be able to look straight into a different city without even leaving Philadelphia.
There it is. You may have seen the portal in New York City. It'll link the city of brotherly love to another city somewhere in the world through a real-time live stream. Let's get right to NBC 10's Siobhan McGurl live in Love Park. Siobhan, there's already a little bit of a problem with it, though.
Aaron, part of the round screen here has a crack in it, but organizers say it will not stop them from turning this portal on today. It's tough to see the crack right now. We took some video of it yesterday, easier to see in daylight. Our news partner at KYW News Radio, they spoke to a city official who confirmed the crack is not from vandalism, and it will not delay the portal's Philadelphia launch. That means soon this sculpture will connect people here in Love Park with people from another city somewhere in the world. It's kind of like a window. This portal came from New York City. There, it connected New Yorkers to people in Dublin, Ireland. Portals are part of a global art network, first launched back in 2021, bridging Lithuania and Poland. People we spoke with, they're excited to now have one here in Philly, eager to see what this high-tech art installation will teach them about other cultures.
I think a lot of times we're kind of shown like what's popular or what photographs well, and less like what people just like us look like in other places. So I'm really excited to see like what do folks look like when they're on their commute? What do folks look like when they're like taking their family out? And I think the most exciting part is that we have no idea where it's connected to yet.
That's the big question. What city will this connect us to? It's not clear right now. We will know the answer soon, though. This portal will officially launch today after a big celebration here with city leaders. That celebration starts at 10 o'clock this morning, and we will, of course, keep you posted. In Love Park, I'm Siobhan McGurl, NBC 10 News. Send it back to you guys.
I can't wait.
I know. Me too.
So, of course, the sheeple show up and they hold up signs, and this is what entertains them in this world, because they don't grasp why they're depressed. They don't grasp why they're miserable. They don't grasp that we're in the midst of a spiritual battle. All they grasp is what they see that's presented to them on the television set, which is a form of hypnotism. And thus, they're all under a spell, going through the motions. None of them know what's going on because they're all on autopilot. So, we have the portal in Philadelphia. We had the portal in New York. Like I said, we'll see it other places. But where are we seeing actual references to portals? Because they're rolling portals out in all these cities and everybody thinks that it's art. But speaking of what we're told is art, which is really spell casting, let's take a look at what's going on in the music world. Because the biggest musicians in the world all at the same time, Kanye West, Eminem, Katy Perry, be hard to argue that they aren't the three most prominent people not named Taylor Swift. I mean, you could probably name 10, but those are three big ones. These aren't people that nobody knows of. Everybody pretty much has heard of all of them. And what are they all doing at the same time? They're all referencing portals, right? Kanye West just came out with an album. What's the cover of the album? No, that's a portal. And what did Kanye West do during the actual concert that he just had? Well, he opened a portal, ready to use this portal imagery, right, at his concert. Is there something to this? Well, of course there is. What are they, fans of the portals that are going up in New York and Philadelphia? Are they fans of the multiverse? Is that what it is? What about Katy Perry? Katy Perry opens the portal for her new album, 143, right? Katy Perry tweets out, sleep tight, for tomorrow the portal opens. In fact, at the MTV Video Music Awards and other concerts she's done recently, Katy Perry, even with the heptagram of Aleister Crowley behind her, / him, was on stage mimicking the Tower of Babel, as I discussed in the video that I did on the MTV Video Music Awards. What is that? Oh, that's a portal that Katy Perry's standing in front. You can see the demonic arms coming out the sides, which again ties into CERN, right? And Shiva, you know, that giant thing outside, that giant statue, right? Kali Destroyer outside of CERN, right? So these are all coincidental. I'm sure it's a coincidence too that Eminem just came out with an album in the past few months and even had a portal from 2002 has opened up in the city. And who comes out of the portal? Eminem comes out of the portal. Is that not enough repetition and pattern for you yet? Is your brain catching on? How about The Weeknd? He's another major musician. He's played at the Super Bowl, right? If you play at the Super Bowl, you're pretty well known. Most of us might not like his music or like these people or care to ever see him or listen to him, of course, but the majority of people out there do. So maybe this will help them pull the layers back from the onion and start waking up layer by layer to see the repetition and the pattern here. Because The Weeknd just had a massive concert and a massive music video that came out that was, of course, trending on YouTube. Where what does The Weeknd do? No, he runs to a portal and goes through it. And during his concert, what did he do? Well, there was a giant demon behind him as he stood on top of a tower, perhaps the Tower of Babel. And what was behind him? Well, it was a demon with its hands pressed against the wall. Now, how would anybody interpret this? If it was a horror movie, what would you say? You'd say, oh, it looks like a demon trying to come over, right? Well, that's exactly what he's doing. Now, is this a horror performance or is this supposed to be a concert, right? Well, the majority of people out there are so asleep they can't figure out what they're actually seeing because they have spells cast on them. So we see a demon behind him, right? But that's not all, because then we saw a giant laser beam and a portal opening at his concert, right? Not to mention, have you heard about the Epic Universe being opened in 2025 down in Universal? Did you know that the whole thing's being marketed as going dimension hopping, opening a dimension, going into a dimension, going out of a dimension? Of course, the theme of it all is Harry Potter, which they've indoctrinated the majority of people with. The majority of people in their 30s and 40s are still completely asleep to the fact that magic is real, energy harvesting is real. They just have been told that it's fiction, even though the majority of them have seen Harry Potter and they've seen all the Disney movies talking about magic, and it's just always Magic Kingdom, magic, magic, magic. Oh, it's magic. You're in love. It's magic. Oh, this is magic, right? But they can't seem to figure out that magic's actually real, because that's, of course, psychology and tricks being played on them. Spell casting, where they actually love the word magic and use the word magic and refer to all the wonderful things in their lives as magical moments. Yet they don't believe that magic, witches, demons, and all this stuff is actually real, because it is actually real. That's what they need to realize. But of course, they want to keep you completely under a spell from learning about what's actually going on. Which brings me back to the word portal, right? Now, I mentioned earlier in the video about CERN. We've seen articles from the USA Today put things out like, no, CERN won't open a portal during the April 8th eclipse. That's impossible, fact check. Now, the majority of people out there should be trained at this point to realize anything that's fact-checked, believe the opposite. But we know, unfortunately, somehow this level of mind control works on them. But hopefully they can find content like this and start to separate themselves from the hive and start waking up. Somehow this type of mind control works on people. But the truth of the matter is that CERN can't really explain what they're doing there. They just tell you they're exploring particles and the universe and black matter and opening holes, and, stop asking questions. You don't know what you're talking about. They're engineers and scientists. You're not, right? But the world's not as complicated as that. The world is pretty simple if you open your eyes and you view the world through your own eyes. Not through the eyes of the television, not through the eyes of your next door neighbor, through your own eyes. Because you'll start to see that this is all spiritual, and they've been programming you, preparing you for what's actually coming. And when it actually comes, just like when we were all preparing people for the outbreak that came in 2020, and actually came, then do people come to channels like mine and say, oh man, you were right, it happened, what do we do now? I'm awakening. No, they stayed asleep. In fact, they thought we were a danger for actually knowing what was coming because we're actually paying attention. How dare we? They were more angered by the fact that we knew that it was coming because they told us that it was coming, that they tried to silence all of us because they refused to believe the truth, right? Well, you can expect the same thing here. They literally could start opening portals in cities and tell people that it's a new form of travel, or it's just some friendly family thing. Gather your kids, summon spirits. And these people are so under hypnosis that they'll go along with it. So We've had the mainstream media, of course, come out and try to dispel CERN and say that's it's not what they're doing at CERN. They don't know, right? Because they want you to think it's more complicated than it is. But really what you need to start doing is looking at fiction and realizing that they reveal the truth, part of universal law, through these movies and television shows. As crazy as the notion sounds to somebody out there who's completely asleep, trust me, it's the truth. And when you wake up, you'll start seeing it. It's what we call predictive programming. It's a method of mind control. They reveal this stuff to you so that when you're completely asleep and you hear someone like me, you just laugh it off because you automatically go, what are you talking about? You think Stranger Things is real? You think that Stranger Things could actually occur? But meanwhile, if you pay attention around you, you'll see what's going on. If you pay attention to CERN, if you pay attention to all these other scientific experiments that are going on around us, like the events in the sky that we constantly see related to HARP and geoengineering, right? But if you pay attention to this clip that I'm about to play for you, you'll see that all these things tie in to this theme of portals. And this is how they desensitize you and condition you at the same time. Keep in mind, the first clip that you're going to see is actually a clip that was released from CERN themselves, from the people who have that giant looking portal that looks exactly like the portals popping up all over the place that tell you that you don't know what they're doing. Don't ask questions about what they're doing. Now, you tell me after watching these clips, including the first one of CERN, does what CERN is doing in this clip that they play, this commercial that they air, does it look like it's anything to do with science, or does it look like voodoo, witchcraft, sorcery? Because that's what it is. In fact, it's so sick and satanic, they literally have, in the video, a giant circle on the ground, which of course you probably have seen but never realized, but watched movies like The Craft, etc., and seen big circles or stages set up as circles for concerts, right? That's their magic protection circle that they use, okay? And they're using it in this commercial because what they're doing is sorcery. And in addition to that, you'll see many other films that tell you exactly what's going on at CERN.
Have existed for over 100,000 years. You weren't so different from apes. How long did it take you to discover agriculture? It took you 90,000 years to get from hunter-gatherer to farmer. How long did it take you to become industrialists? Atomic power, computers, the information age. And how long do you think it took us to get from hunting to farming, and farming to industry, and industry to atomic power? We are going to kill your science. It's a proton. One we have turned into a sentient computer. The universe has more dimensions than the 3 we occupy, but we have the technology to unfold them. We summon energies you cannot imagine. Even a tiny proton becomes something very large. A proton has virtually no mass, to the places where your best minds explore reality. Every civilization ends in chaos. There will eventually be a cataclysm from which we cannot recover. Our planet will be ripped in half.
Well, basically, there are parallel universes, infinite variations of it.
Like the Veil of Shadows.
And the tightrope is our dimension, and our dimension has rules. You can move forwards or backwards. The flea can also travel this way.
Upside down.
Exactly.
Is there any way for the acrobat to get to the Upside Down?
You'd have to create a massive amount of energy, open up some kind of tear in time and space. You create a doorway, like a gate. It might even swallow us up whole.
Now, have you heard of the Garrow Research Facility?
In Long Island, the particle accelerator?
Yeah.
It actually splits the proton of the atom.
Well, you know more than I do.
Well, it's a 14-mile loop that accelerates electrons and protons close to the speed of light.
Local parishes in Ryland are protesting. The particle accelerator will open the gates of hell.
So the scientists, they want us to prove they're not opening the gates of hell.
What's that? Something that was filmed down in the particle accelerator.
Satan, help us open this portal. We deliver this sacrifice to you.
The Vatican is asking you to investigate and write up a report.
It's a prank, right?
Well, I don't know. That's your job.
They make that video, Doctor.
We're in a friendly competition with CERN, particle accelerator in Switzerland. They did a similar video making fun of the satanic panic about their opening. So what can we do to convince you we are not Satan worshippers?
I mean, it's just the name that the night ship calls it. B-33. On the proton collider. They broke through something. But there's something there. Something under the concrete. A creature. They dragged that woman into it.
That's where the beams converge.
Oh, and your safeguards.
The beams are accelerated around the loop at 13,000 revolutions per second.
Any concern about an uncontrollable black hole?
It's not going to happen.
I know. Just humor me.
If there's concern about anything.
So again, the Hadron Collider theme, right? You see it all over the place. You see this theme of portals. And it's not there by coincidence, because if you're still thinking that things going on in the world are a coincidence, then you're still under mind control. There are no coincidences. All this stuff that you just saw is repetition and a pattern. It's not because they're fans of portals that they draw circles on their notepads and then they say, I want to make a movie for $50 million. Can someone fund me so I can make a movie about demons coming over like Stranger Things? Oh wait, there's about 900 movies with the same plot. Katy Perry didn't call Kanye West and say, you're using the portal theme? We're artists. We can't mimic each other. That would be like Madonna coming out in the 1980s with Like a Virgin, and then 3 months later, Pat Benatar coming out with a song, I'm a Virgin, with the same almost lyrics and beat. Wouldn't you say they're copying each other? One of them's copying the other. Well, nobody's thinking anymore, right? They're not seeing the pattern. Nobody wanted to call Eminem. Eminem didn't want to call Katy Perry. Didn't want to call The Weeknd and say, hey, Weeknd, you're doing portals? I'm doing portals. Katy Perry's doing portals. Hey, who else is doing portals? Kanye West is doing portals. We're all doing portals. We love portals in the year 2024, apparently. You are being conditioned. Snap out of it and wake up. As Ephesians chapter 6, verses 11 through 12 say, put on the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Pay attention to the signs of the times. Pay attention to the events of this world, even though we are not of this world. And always watch the patterns and the repetition, because it's everywhere. Folks, a portal is opening in Philadelphia, but the sheeple will, of course, find this video and say he thinks people are literally going through the screen and ending up in the multiverse and going into another dimension, because they're so dumbed down that they literally think that all of these things are a coincidence. And I can assure you that they are not. I thank everybody for being here. I hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your families, as always.